most people understand fairly easily that meat has no fiber, no vitamins, and but what's the big difference between meat protein? Why is it so detrimental and hurts our metabolism and nourishes cancer, etc.? What's the difference with amino acids from plants?
The body is so complex. There's a concept in mathematics of recent years called fractals, and the closer you look at something, the more it breaks up into smaller and smaller pieces. Well, nutrition kind of works the same way. When what's wrong with meat protein? There's so many aspects to it. Just the quality of it. It contains more amino acids. Protein is a chain of amino acids. And meat protein has a lot of amino acids like taurine and cysteine and methionine that contain an atom of sulfur. And sulfur in water turns into sulfurous acid. And so meat brings in this acid load that can be hard on the bones, hard on the kidneys, hard on the liver. When the amino acids in a piece of meat are eaten, they flood into the liver, and the liver responds by putting out a hormone called insulin-like growth factor 1, IGF-1, and this hormone is the most powerful growth-promoting hormone in the body. And this is a good mechanism when you're a growing boy or a growing girl. When you eat some protein, you want that liver to respond with a surge of IGF-1 and turn it into muscle and bone, etc. But when you're already a grown man or a grown woman, if you've got a little breast cancer growing or you've got a little prostate cancer growing and you're eating all this meat, you are keeping your IGF-1 levels elevated. Well, this is like throwing gasoline on a fire, and so it'll foster cancer growth. Nobody eats raw meat. You got to cook it. The very act of cooking meat creates cancer-causing molecules, heterocyclic amines on the surface of the meat that rub on the colon wall, excuse me, and sets off cancers. The very act of cooking meat oxidizes the cholesterol in the meat, and now you've got oxidized cholesterol flowing through your arteries. Well, this is very irritating material, is oxidized cholesterol, and particles of it get into the walls of the artery and set off inflammation that results in atherosclerotic plaque formation that leads to heart attacks and strokes. The animals are fed growth promoters and hormones, antibiotics that accumulate in the meat as the animal eats this doctored food every day. And so every time you eat that piece of meat, you're consuming, again, antibiotics and growth promoters and herbicides and pesticides. It's toxic stuff, and then it becomes more toxic as meat is fatty stuff, and the fat accumulates into the muscle cells. That fat then interferes with the insulin receptors, so makes people go diabetic, high-fat diets. And the fats accumulate and they oxidize in there, and you get these free radicals formed from the oxidized fats that build up in the muscles. And that in turn injures the mitochondria and cell membranes and sets us up for cancer growth. All the way around, it's the wrong fuel. It's like putting diesel fuel in a gasoline burning engine. I mean, we're not mountain lions. We're not house cats. They can handle a meat-based diet because their intestines are so short. They move it out real quick before it causes any great damage. But we've got these great long herbivorous intestines, and all this fat and cholesterol and carcinogens are absorbed and create terrible mischief in our body. It's the wrong fuel. We're not carnivorous apes.